There once was a person a long time ago who went into the woods and chopped down a tree. When they chopped down the tree, they put it into a wagon and carried it to their house for firewood. And when they got to their house, they put all of the firewood in the fireplace. And once the fireplace was full of wood, the woodsman lighted the fireplace. And so, the tale goes, the woodsman was all alone in the woods, except for some animals, like deer and rabbits. And a bear walked by his house but didn't do anything, so it was minding its own business. And later on, another woods person came to the door, and it was a woodswoman. And the woodsman asked the woodswoman, "How are you today?" "Doing well. How are you?" "Oh, I couldn't be any better." "So, what'd you have for dinner?" "Well, I didn't have anything for dinner. Do you have anything to eat?" "Of course. I've got plenty of vegetables here." That's great. That's great. I don't really like vegetables." "Oh, well, that's all we have." "Well, okay. I may as well eat some." And so, the woodsman went with the woods woman, and they started eating some vegetables. And he saw that there was a painting in his house that was always there. And the woodswoman asked about the painting, said, "Why do you have that painting there?" The woodsman replied, "It's for decoration. I look at it sometimes." And she said, "What kind of painting is it?" And the woodswoman kept looking at the painting but couldn't figure out what it was. Then the woodsman said, "It's a painting of a river." And the woodswoman said, "Oh, I see it now. I can see it. It is a river, if you look at it close enough." Then the woodsman replied, "Why is it so difficult to see that it's a river?" And the woodswoman said, "It's because I'm partially blind. I don't have any glasses." And the woodsman said, "Is this the 21st century?" And the woodswoman said, "No, it's somewhere in medieval times, a very long time ago." Then the woodsman said, "Well, why would I have a painting if it's such a long time ago? Paintings are very rare in medieval times." Then the woodswoman said, I think you might have a point there. Let's just make the timeline completely non-existent." And so the woodswoman and the woodsman had dinner of vegetables in a forest, and they couldn't tell what time it was. So the woodsman went outside of his cabin and looked up in the sky, and the moon was out. The woodsman said, "I didn't know that the moon was out right now. I thought it was sunny a few minutes ago." And the woodswoman said, "Yeah, this is kind of strange. I don't know what to make of this. I thought we had 24 hours in a day." And the woodsman said, "I don't know, can we count?" And the woodswoman said, "Yes, of course, everyone knows how to count. We just don't know how to read." And the woodsman said, "Oh yeah, well, what about the author of the painting?" "You mean the author of the book, right?" The woodswoman said. "No," said the woodsman. "I mean the author of the painting." "Oh, you mean the painter," said the woodswoman. Yes. So, who painted this? I don't know, I just got it from the store, said the woodsman. And the woodswoman said, I have to go and chop down some more trees. And the woodsman said, how come we are able to chop down so many trees and there's never a scarcity? We live in abundance, said the woodswoman. Oh, I guess we do, said the woodsman. And so, the woodsman went to the store to get another painting. And he looked at the shopkeeper's wares. He saw some plates, some goggles, a few glasses for drinking. And then he saw a towel. And he said, how much do you have for that towel? And the shopkeeper said, so 65 pence. Would you want it? And the woodsman said, yeah, I don't know how I dry myself off after I take a shower. And the shopkeeper said, are we living in the 21st century? And the woodsman said, oh yeah, I take my bath in the river. Never mind. And so, he saw also there was a flashlight that the shopkeeper was selling. And the woodsman said, what time is this? And the shopkeeper said, it's midnight. That's why the moon's out. And the woodsman said, I didn't know you were open 24 hours a day. And the shopkeeper said, well, I'm open right now. I don't keep track of time. And so the woodsman bought the towel and slung it on his shoulder, and he saw a stag in the middle of the forest. And the stag just looked at him, at the woodsman, looked at the towel, then looked back at the woodsman, and the stag came ever closer to the woodsman. And the woodsman thought, this must be a really intelligent animal. It must want a towel. It's like, towels aren't natural though. And the stag used one of its antlers and put the towel on its antlers. And the woodsman said, no, that's my towel. And the stag started to trot away, and the woodsman started running after it. And then the woodsman thought, oh wait, I can just buy another towel. And then the woodsman went to the store, and the sign said closed. And the shopkeeper said, do you need something else? We're closed. And the shopkeeper said, wait a minute, you were open a few minutes ago. And the shopkeeper said, yes, but we're closed now. We'll be open in a few hours. I have to take a nap. And so the shopkeeper took a nap and went upstairs to his bedroom. And the woodsman said, well, I think I'll steal this towel. I'll break in somehow, and then once I get the towel, I'll just put however much it's worth and then trade it. Yeah, I'll just trade it for some chopped down trees. But before he could carry out his plan, the shopkeeper said, oh, we're open again. You can come in. And the woodsman thought, well, that was a waste of time. And so the woodsman went in and was about to buy the towel when he spotted something else. He looked across the counter and saw it was an iron skillet. He said, I want an iron skillet. And something told him, the shopkeeper actually said, "Don't you already have an iron skillet?" And the woodsman said, "No, how did you know that?" "Because," said the shopkeeper, "I always keep track of what you buy here. You're the only customer here that I get. So, I don't know how I'm still in business." And so the woodsman said, "Well, I guess that's okay, but it is kind of odd that I'm the only customer here and you're the only shopkeeper around. So how do you supply yourself?" And the shopkeeper said, "I just do." And the woodsman said, "Okay, we'll just leave it at that. And I'm going to just buy this iron skillet and cook some more vegetables." And so the woodsman went back to his cabin and started cooking some vegetables when the woodswoman knocked on his door again. And he said, "Come in." And the woodswoman said, "That's a nice smell. What kind of vegetables are you cooking now?" And the woodsman said, "I'm making some apple cobbler." And the woodswoman said, "Don't you mean peach cobbler?" And the woodsman said, Yes, peach cobbler. That's much better. I like that anyway." And the woodswoman said, Are you sure?" And the woodsman said, "No, I don't know what's going on, but I do know that you're here and I'm making some peach cobbler." "You said it was apple cobbler," said the woodswoman. "Well, I changed my mind," said the woodsman. Then the woodswoman said, "You can't just change the ingredients just by talking about it out loud." And the woodsman said, "Oh yes, that's right. So it's still apple cobbler." And so they sat down while the apple cobbler was cooking on the fireplace. And the woodswoman said, "Wouldn't it be nice if you had some writing utensils around? That way we could write things." And the woodsman said, "I can't read." And the woodswoman said, "Oh right, you can't read. Neither can I." So, and then he said, "Then how do you know about reading if you can't read?" And she said, "I've heard about it on my travels. I've traveled around the world, and I've heard about people who can read and write." And the woodsman said, "That seems really nice. What's so useful about that?" And the woodswoman said, "Oh, can keep records. You can keep track of things." And then the woodsman said, "Oh yeah, that must be how the shopkeeper keeps track of everything I buy." And the woodswoman said, "I think he can only keep track of everything because you're the only customer." Then he said, "Well, if I'm the only customer, how come you don't go there?" And she said, "I have other resources that I tap into. I am completely self-sufficient." And then he said, the woodsman, "If you're so self-sufficient, why are you here talking to me?" And then she said, "Well, it's really nice to be around your neighbors, isn't it?" And then he said, "Okay, I guess so." And then she said, "Anyway, how's the peach cobbler going?" And he said, "Oh, it's just bubbling away. It's in a little iron skillet that I bought today." And she said, "I'd like to buy an iron skillet too." And then the woodsman said, "Why don't you go buy it right now?" And then she said, "That's your shopkeeper. I'm not I'm not a shopkeeper, or I'm not really a customer anyway of anybody." And then he said, oh yeah, that's right, you're self-sufficient. And then the cobbler started bubbling again. And then he said, oh, I've got to take it off the fireplace, see how it's doing. And she said, that's good, good. Let's make some tea. Tea, said the woodsman. Yes, said the woodswoman. I like to have tea at tea time. The woodsman said, I don't have tea time. And then the woodswoman said, just go with it. So the woodsman said, okay, we'll have to find some tea in the woods. And the woodswoman said, I have some tea. It's here in my knapsack. And so she got some tea leaves out, and the woodswoman started placing them all in a figure 8. And the woodsman said, what's so great about a figure 8? It is a sign of infinity, said the woodswoman. And the woodswoman took all the leaves and crumbled them into a cup. And the woodsman said, I'll have to get some water. Wait a second. So he went outside, and there was a well there. So he got some water from the well and put it into the tea. Then he said, oh, I forgot to boil it. We'll have to pour this all into the tea kettle. And then the woman said, go ahead. And so the woodsman, he went and then put all of the water and the tea ingredients into the tea kettle and waited for it to boil. And so while they were waiting for the tea to boil, the woodsman went outside and started raking some leaves. And the woodswoman said, shouldn't you just let the leaves be where they are? And the woodsman said, it's a habit I do. I just like doing it. I love raking leaves. That's what I do in my spare time. And the woodswoman said, okay, you do that. And the woodsman stopped raking leaves, got a Sharpie, and started writing something down. The woodswoman said, I didn't know you could write. And the woodsman said, I just figured out how to do it a few seconds ago. And then the woodswoman said, the tea is boiling. And the woodswoman said, let's have some tea with our peach cobbler. And the woodswoman said, apple cobbler. And the woodsman said, well, whatever it is, we'll have some tea and some cobbler. And so they had some tea and cobbler, and they sat there just staring at the painting, trying to figure out what it was, because sometimes it would look like a river, and other times it would be really hard to tell what it was, since it was a piece of modern art. And with modern art, it's really hard to tell what anything is. And so, going back to their tea and cobbler, peach or apple, whichever one it's supposed to be, she said, let's go out to the beach. And the woodsman said, I don't think we have a beach around here. We just have a bunch of mountains and forest. And then she said, oh yeah, that's right. Let me see. Let's go into a cave. And then the woodsman said, I don't like dark places. And the woodswoman said, well, are you afraid of the dark? And the woodsman said, yes. And the woodswoman said, well, what if you closed your eyes? Wouldn't you be in the dark anyway? And the woodsman said, yes, that's a little different, closing your eyes and being and a dark cave are two different things. And the woodswoman said, "Not if you have a candle." And the woodsman said, "I don't think that's very safe, going to a cave with a candle." And the woodswoman said, "I like that painting, it's a nice river." And the woodsman said, I think it's something else. It's kind of like a mirage. Yeah, it could be a mirage. "Is there a desert around here?" said the woodswoman. And the woodsman said, "No, there's not a desert for miles around. We're just stuck in the woods." Just drinking tea, eating some cobbler, and having a storekeeper who only serves one customer. And she said, "Oh, yeah, that's right. How do you do this? How are you the only customer?" And the woodsman said, "I guess because there's supply and demand. Whenever there's supply and demand, there's always a store or a shop around." And so she said, "Well, that must be nice. You'd have your personal storekeeper." And the woodsman said, "It is nice." And the storekeeper knocked on the door and said, "I'd like to have some tea and some cobbler." And so the woodsman said, "Yeah, come on in." And the woodswoman said, "That's really, really nice of you to join us." And he said, "Yes. Today I sold some silverware to somebody else." And so the woodsman said, "Okay. I thought I was your only customer." And the storekeeper said, "I do it online. I use eBay." There was a silence in the room after he said that. "What's wrong with eBay?" And the woodswoman said, "Oh, nothing. We just don't have any kind of technology like that right in the time period that we're in right now." And the woodsman said, "I think she's got a point there." And the storekeeper said, Yes, it's not exactly possible for us to have the internet. I was daydreaming that I was selling the silverware. I wish I had more than one customer." And the woodswoman said, "Are you implying that I should buy from your store?" And the woodsman listened to this, and the storekeeper said, No, it'd just be really nice if you did." and there was another long pause and a silence. This is getting a little bit awkward," said the woodsman. "Maybe you should leave." The storekeeper said, "No, I don't want to leave. I want to have some tea and cobbler." And the woodswoman said, I don't think it's a bad idea that he should stay." And the woodsman said, "Well, I don't know. Things have been things have been going a little bit awry around here." And the shopkeeper said, "Oh no, I think someone's robbing my store. I have to go. And so the shopkeeper left. And the woodsman spoke to the woodswoman. Isn't he only the third person here? And the woodswoman said, yeah. I don't know anyone who would actually rob his store. There's no one around here except me, you, and the storekeeper. And the woodsman said, I don't know. I don't think anyone is able to rob his store. And the woodswoman replied, I guess he has to do some inventory. And the woodsman said, I don't think he needs inventory. And the woodswoman said, oh man, I don't know if he has a really good excuse. And the woodsman said, maybe he's being plundered by a bunch of bandits. And the woodswoman said, you know there's nobody around these woods for miles around. And then the woodsman said, then who keeps him supplied with all of his goods? The end.